Hello everyone, how are you? And welcome back to our UGC Net English Literature series, that is we are doing Unit 3. Unit 3, that is fiction and short stories. That is one of the most fascinating and diverse parts of English literature, because here we are talking about the fiction, and fiction that comes from your imagination. So this is what we have discussed in our previous class. We have explored some of important things about the fiction, short stories, how it started, what is the meaning, how the fiction word originated, and also types of fiction. We have like novel, novella, short stories. We have seen the types of novel. Then we have seen the novella, the length of all these three things. We have understood the types of novel, novella, which is the shorter, which is the longer. So in today's class, we will now look at the features of fiction and short stories, their development across ages, and the major writers who shaped them. Also, we will also highlight key comparisons between periods. For example, how realism of the Victorian age differs from modernist stream of consciousness techniques. Or also, how short stories of Edgar Allan Poe differ from those of Catherine Mansfield or Hemingway. So this unit, it is very crucial because many questions in the UGC NET exam are asked not only about the writers and their works, but also about the features. I told you how important the features, themes, techniques, specifically when you are doing or studying a novel, and narrative styles in fiction and short. So let's begin our journey into this rich and dynamic world of fiction. So thank you so much for joining. Do share to more and more students so that they can also get advantage of this free detailed class. Free detailed class, okay? So let's start the journey. In previous class, we have discussed about the uh, themes of the novel, the fiction, then style and technique, short story versus novel, novel versus novella. We have discussed everything in the first class. Now, as I have told you beginning of the video, that we are going to study in this class that how novel grow with the ages in English literature. So we are going to start from the Jacobean and early prose fiction. Okay, Jacobean and early prose fictions, because novel do not have the way poetry started from very earlier time. Novel is not started similar way, but we can simply understand like this. So Thomas Nash's work, you have The Unfortunate Traveler, 1594, John Bunyan, The Pilgrim's Progress, allegorical narrative. It is a precursor to novel. Then we have Ephra Ben Uronoko, or The Royal Slave, often called the first English novel. The first English novel. We will discuss the age and the novel. Then we will move on to the detail of these novels, if these novels are important and appear in the exam. Do not miss the video. I will tell you that which top major novels you can do to crack your exam, to crack or to get the questions easily solved. Then we have Augustan age. In the Augustan age, this age was the rise of the realistic novel. I have highlighted here the rise of the realistic novel. The novel we can see here: Daniel Defoe by Robinson Crusoe, Jonathan Swift's Gulliver Travels, Samuel Richardson's Pamela Virtue Rewarded, then Clarissa, Henry Fielding, Joseph Andrew and Tom Jones, Tobias Smollett, Roderick Random and Peregrine Pickle, Lawrence Stern, Tristram Shandy. How important all these novels are. Robinson Crusoe, very, very. Gulliver's Travel, Pamela, Joseph Andy, Tom Jones, Peregrine Pickle, Tristram Shandy, all these. That is why this age is also known as the rise of the realistic novel. very, very important. Then after that we have romantic age. The romantic age, so the main theme everybody knows. We have already discussed in the poetry class that focus on imagination, sentiment, gothic trends, nature, emotion. So Horace Walpole, we will find the Castle of Otranto, first Gothic novel it is, Anne Radcliffe, The Mysterious of Udolpho, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Jane Austen's There Are So Many, Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma, Persuasion. Persuasion, posthumously it was published. So everything is very important. All these novels, especially Sense and Sensibility, Persuasion, Emma, Pride and Prejudice, Frankenstein, The Castle of Otranto, Frankenstein, very, very important. All these novels, we will discuss these in detail. Then another age we have from Elizabethan romantic age, we have Sir Walter Scott, Waverley, very important, and Ivanhoe, very, very important, all this, and Maria Edgeworth, Castle Rackrent. Then another age we have Victorian age. Victorian age is the golden age for the novel. Novel at its height in golden age, realism, social issues, industrial change we find in the Victorian age. Charles Dickens, all the work, very important. Oliver Twist, David Copperfield, Bleak House, Great Expectations, very, very important. Then we have William Makepeace Thackeray, Vanity Fair, Charlotte Bronte, Jane Eyre, Emily Bronte, Wuthering Heights, Annie Bronte, The Tenant of Whitehall, George Eliot, Mary Ann Evans, the pen name, Adam Bede and Middlemarch, very, very important. Then Elizabeth Gaskell, I'm highlighting all the important major novels for the exam perspective. You can prepare or you can take a screenshot and you can prepare your own self by doing the self study, or I will highlight all the important novels in detail after in the next class. Okay. So Elizabeth Gaskell, we have Mary Barton, North and South, Anthony Trollope, we have The Warden, Barchester Towers, then Thomas Hardy's work, we have very, very important Thomas Hardy's work. Far from the Meddling Crowd, The Return of the Native, Tess of the Urbervilles, extremely important, and this one also. Jude the Obscure. These novels, if you will do, if you can simply master Thomas Hardy. Then we have George Meredith, The Egoist, important. Benjamin Disraeli, Sybil, important. Samuel Butler, Erewhon, very, very important. Now let's go on to the next age, and then we have modern age. Modern age. Here we will find the psychological stream of consciousness and experimentation. So Joseph Conrad, The Heart of Darkness, important. Lord Jim, again, it's very important. E.M. Foster's A Passage to India. This single novel by E.M. Foster is extremely important for the exam. D.H. Lawrence, Sons and Lovers, very important. Women in Love, again, it's important. Lady Chatterley's Lover, again, it's a very, very important. Now we have, in the same age, James Joyce, Dubliners, A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, Ulysses, and Finnegan's Wake. Then another writer, we have Virginia Woolf, very, very important. How we can forget her? Mrs. Dalloway, To the Lighthouse and the Waves, extremely important. Then another writers of this age, Aldous Huxley, Brave New World, Ford Madox Ford, The Good Soldier, and Catherine Mansfield, modernist short stories, Blaze, 1920. So all these writers of the modernist era, the how many novels, how many fiction works are important, you have seen in your exam, the question paper if you have solved. Then postmodern and contemporary age till now. So in postmodern and contemporary age, we will find the theme fragmentation, metafiction, diversity, post-colonial voices. And the writer we have very important, George Orwell, Animal Farm, very, very important. 1984, again, it's very important. Graham Greene's The Quiet American. very important. William Golding, Lord of the Flies, extremely important. And Anthony Burgess, A Clockwork Orange, important. Iris Murdoch, Under the Net, 1954. Muriel Spark, The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. Angela Carter, The Bloody Chamber. Julian Barnes, Flaubert's Parrot, 1984. Salman Rushdie, Midnight Children. Kazuo Ishiguro, The Remains of the Day. Z.D. Smith, The White Teeth. All the fiction works, if you are doing the unit 3 fiction, you have to go through all the, first of all, you have to look into all the major minor novelists, writers, then the work of publication year, their themes, techniques, and one by one you can pick the most important novels and get into the detail. This way it will be helpful for you. Then after the major novelists, now let's see who are the minor novelists. So Thomas Nash we have discussed the Unfortunate Traveler. So here it is mentioned. John Lyly, Euphues, The Anatomy of Wit. Aphra Ben Orunukor, Delary Weir. Delary Weir we have Manly, England, The New Atlantis, important. Eliza Haywood, Love in Express. Samuel Richardson, Pamela. Charlotte Lennox, The Female Ziote, Frances Burney, Evelina, very important this is, Maria Edgeworth, Castle Racklin, Annie Radcliffe, The Mysterious of Udolpho. Then in Victorian age, if you will go, George Meredith, The Egoist you have seen already, Samuel Butler, The Way of All Flesh, George Gissing, New Grub Street, Anthony Hope, The Prisoner of Zenda, Mary Corelli, you have The Sorrows of Saturn, and from the France, you will find the Madame de la Fête, La Princesse de Cleves, Andy Prevost, we have Manon Lescaut, then we have Chadrels de Leclerc, Les Legends Dangerouses. These novelists are from the France. Then Germany, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. The Sorrows of Young Werther, E.T.A. Hoffmann, we have The Devil's Elixirs. From American, we have Charles Brockden Brown, Wyland, Susanna Rawson, Charlotte Temple, Hugh Henry Brackenridge, Modern Chivalry. Then from the modern and postmodern minor writers we have here Ford Madox Ford, The Good Soldier, important. John Dos Passos, the USA trilogy. Nathaniel West, The Day of the Locust. Christina Stead, The Man Who Loved Children. B.S. Johnson, we have The Unfortunates. Okay. So these are the minor novelist, also few the major one also included in the list, but still you have to focus on the major and minor, everyone at least their work and the writers must be identified by you. And if the work, if the writers, if there is something mismatch, whether it's a your writer or the worker, you can notify me. I will edit the PDF and then I will share then I will share on the Telegram. Okay. So after discussing all the novels throughout the ages, there are something that you should know. You must know actually. So here I have brought that first attributed works as novel in English fiction. Here there are so many novels that has been categorized based on their themes. So the first novel in English is Robinson Crusoe, and also with Robinson Crusoe, another novel we have Pamela by Robinson or Samuel Richardson. Pamela by Samuel Richardson. Both these novels have been put in the first novel category. Why? Because of their novel fiction categorization. And also majority of the critics, majority of the people put the Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe in the first English novel category, and then Pamela. So this is heavily debated title. Robinson Crusoe Arguably the first realistic fictional narrative in English, but some critics point to Samuel Richardson's Pamela that was published in 1714 as the first true English novel due to its focus on psychological development of a single character. So Daniel Defoe and Pamela both, Robinson Crusoe and Pamela both is the first novel in English in terms of fiction, but the majority Robinson Crusoe is. Then another one we have the first English epistolary novel. First English epistolary novel we have a Pamela epistolary, the based in a format of letter. Virtue Rewarded, 1740 by Samuel Richardson. This is generally considered the correct term because it is the first epistolary novel in English, written entirely in the form of letters. Pamela is a foundational example of the epistolary novel in English literature. Then another first psychological novel category we have Clarissa. Again, it's by Samuel Richardson. Both the work Pamela and Clarissa is by Samuel Richardson. Pamela, while the Pamela shows the virtue, the poor girl, the girl who lived in poverty and how she got married to a rich person. But in contrast to that, Clarissa is something that has been totally, you can say, opposite of what Pamela has shown us. Clarissa is raped by the rich person, and there is a conflict. So that both the work is controversy based. So it is also by Samuel Richardson. It is that is why it is a psychological novel. This novel depicts the inner lives of the character Clarissa. So both it is a psychological novel. Do remember? Then first picaresque novel we have. First picaresque novel The Adventures of Roderick Random, 1748 by Tobias Smollett. Smollett's novel is a clear and influential example of the picaresque genre in English literature. So this is the first picaresque novel which work The Adventures of Roderick Random by Tobias Smollett. Then first Gothic novel in English, again it's The Castle of Otranto. This is absolutely correct. There is no debate or conflict about this. 1764 by Horace Walpole. Okay. Then another first feminist novel in English, 1792, A Vindication of the Rights of Women and Maria, or The Wrongs of Women, 1798 by Mary Wollstonecraft. Both the work by Mary Wollstonecraft. So a vindication is influential proto-feminist non-fiction work. So this can't be fall in the novel category because novel work is based on the imagination and imagination is supposed to be the fiction work. So the later fictional Maria work is stronger. Here, this is the first feminist novel, Maria. First feminist novel would be the Maria. Okay. Then first historical novel, Beverly, 1814 by Sir Walter Scott. First historical novel is Beverly by Sir Walter Scott. Then first regional novel in English we have Mary Baton, 1848 by Elizabethan Gaskell. Mary Baton is the first regional novel in English. Okay. Then another one we have first a science fiction novel, science sci-fi, science fiction, or prototype Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Then another first detective novel. There is a conflict of detective novel. I have discussed in the first part. Edgar Allan Poe's work is falls in the detective novel category. So the Moonstone here is the contender. 1868 by Wilkie Collins. While Edgar Allan Poe's earlier tales featured detectives and fictions form, so the Moonstone is often cited as the first full-length English detective novel. So this is the correct one. First dystopian novel we have The Time Machine, 1895 by H.G. Wells, or Erebon, the another title. No, it's Erebon is by 1772 by Samuel Butler. So the Time Machine and Erebon, there is another the debate both as early examples. Dystopian novel, The Time Machine and Erebon both. The time machine directly presents a future that has gone terribly wrong. Or here, Erewhon offers a satirical look at a supposedly utopian society. Both is dystopian. First is Stream of Consciousness novel in English, that is Pilgrimage by Dorothy Richardson. It is a 13-volume work by her. And another one you have the first is Stream of Consciousness novel, Pilgrimage 1915 to 67 by Dorothy Richardson. Richardson's this is the 13th volume work is a significant early use of a stream of consciousness technique. So this would be the pilgrimage. Okay. Then another one we have here, first modernist novel in English. First modern novel in English, we have A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce, and this is correct. Then another one we have first postmodern novel in English. So it is the debated why, because there is a two writer and their work, two novelists. The Crying of Lord 49, 1966 by Thomas Pynchon, and the title of the first postmodern novel is highly contested, but Pynchon's work is a quintessential example of the genre due to its theme of paranoia. So these are the something that you must know as the student of English literature. Some of the correct and some are still in a debate, and critics are still in debating that which work they should put in the first. But the one I know what I have researched, I have told you here, it is mentioned in the PDF. That's why I have mentioned like this, so that any of you won't get confused. If any of these two work fall in the option and there is a question that which is the first psychological novel, which is the first stream of consciousness novel, so it might be easy for you to get the correct answer. Now, after this discussing all the novels, narrative structures, characters, narrative voice, themes, techniques, short story versus long stories, novella, the one thing that we are about to get in depth is the summary of all these novels. Summary of the novels, which is very, very, very important for the exam. Summary of the novels, including the characters. If you are preparing yourself or doing the self study, do prepare the major novel summary with the character, their themes, the one line quotation, technique, style, genre, types of novel in which they fall. So everything you have to prepare about the major novel, and remember the minor novel also, about the particular writer. So the first we are going to start with the Daniel Defoe. Daniel Defoe was an English trader, writer, journalist, and pamphleteer, best remembered as one of the founding fathers of the English novel. His fiction combined realism, travel narrative, and spiritual reflection, shaping the rise of prose fiction in the 18th century. And before, after Daniel Defoe, if we leave him side, Samuel Richardson and Henry Fielding, both rivals, is supposed to be the founding figure of the novel work, fiction work, novel. Henry Fielding and Samuel Richardson, both. How we will discuss them later. So he is best known for Daniel Defoe, best known for Robinson Crusoe, often regarded as the first English novel. Defoe's narrative style blends journalism with imaginative storytelling, reflecting moral, economic, and colonial concerns of this time. Okay, so Daniel Defoe, it was a little bit brief about him. Major novels by him we have Robinson Crusoe 1719, The Farther Adventures of Robinson Crusoe 1719, Serious Reflections of Robinson Crusoe 1720, Captain Singleton 1720, Moll Flanders 1722, A Journal of the Plague Year 1722, Colonel Jack 1722, Roxana, The Fortunate Mistress 1724. All these works somehow the title is same. So these are the major novels by Daniel Defoe. And the one thing that we have to go in depth is Robinson Crusoe. So let's see the summary of the work. Robinson Crusoe. Daniel Defoe's Crusoe is a realistic adventure novel that tells the story of a castaway who spends 20 years on a remote island. It is written in first person narrative. Everything is important about a novel, whether it's a uh, narration type, the first, second, third, and the omniscient we have to remember. Technique is also important. Theme is extremely important about the novel, and the most important, the character and what they have said. What are the situation of the characters highlighted in the novel by the novelist, and what journey they are through the work, the characters. So it is written in the first person narrative and is structured like a spiritual autobiography, reflecting both Puritan values and colonial ideology. So these are the basic things about the Robinson Crusoe. That Robinson Crusoe is a realistic adventure novel. It tells a story of a castaway. It is the character who spends 20 years on a remote island. It is written in the first person narrative, and it is structured in a spiritual autobiography. It highlights the Puritan values and colonial ideologies. If you filter out, these are the important things. It represents the life story of Robinson Crusoe, who embodies the spirit of adventure, survival, and self reliance. Do you understand the similar work we have by Gulliver's Travel? Gulliver's Travel, if you remember. Yes, it is. We have discussed Gulliver's Travel. So the narrative is written in the form of a first-person autobiography, giving it an air of authenticity that deeply influences its reception. Everything is important. Early prose development of the fiction, everything we have discussed in the first part of the first class of the video. So if any of you have missed, if any of you have missed the first class, do watch, then only you will understand the second class. The story begins with Crusoe's restless ambition to leave the safety of home against his father's advice. His desire for the sea leads him into a series of voyages, the six voyages mentioned, four cities that mentioned in the Gulliver's Travel. So there might be similarity. You can connect both the work. Many of which end in disaster. The most significant of these is the shipwreck that leaves him stranded on a deserted island. Summary, I will share the PDF. You can read by yourself. I will highlight there is a city, coast of South America. You have to remember the what follows is a long account of human resilience, ingenuity, the tension between solitude and society. Crusoe learns to survive through the agriculture, hunting, and craftsmanship, transforming the wilderness into a space of order and productivity. There are a lot of things that Robinson Crusoe, in a solitaire condition, the people experience a lot of things. When we live with the society and live on the norms of the society, we experience the things that somehow makes us stress. And when we live in the solitude or solitaire condition, then we realize a lot of things, and also we analyze that where and how society was wrong. So it is adventure, but it is also, you can say, self-reliance, that Robinson Crusoe realized what is wrong and what is right while being alone in a remote island. Then one of the central relationship you have to remember in the book is with Friday, the native man whom Crusoe rescued from cannibals. Important for the exam perspective, Friday becomes his loyal companion, and through this relationship, Defoe stages as a commentary on race, religion, and cultural superiority. Crusoe insists on teaching Friday English and Christianity, which two language, English and Christianity, reinforcing the colonial perspective that underlines the narrative. So here he saved Friday, another character, Friday's loyalty and humanity complicate this perspective, making him more than just a subject of Crusoe's authority. The person who wants to live solitaire, and if you find someone loyal, there might be conflict. Also, here the novel deals with a profound spiritual themes. Crusoe, once careless about religion, undergoes a transformation during his solitude. I told you now that when we live in society, we live on the norms of society. We somehow do not think what actually we want and what is the wrong or what is the right. But when we live alone, that when we live alone in a separate world or separate place, there are a lot of things that we realize, that we experience, that we think, our mind makes us realize that this is the thing that you should not do or this is the thing that you should be the part of. So this is the transformational journey, you can also say this novel is. Minor characters play key roles in shaping Crusoe's journey. His father, though absent after the beginning, represents the voice of reason and the middle state of life. Middle class, though they have to suffer a lot in not only the fiction but reality also. Middle state of life that Crusoe rejects. The ship's captain who first takes Crusoe to sea and later assists him financially shows world of maritime economy that Crusoe enters. Friday's father, who appears later, and the Spaniards on the island spend the narrative beyond the simple man versus nature tale. Okay. Then here, from the literary perspective, if you see this work, Robinson Crusoe is significant for its realism. He realized a lot of things. Unlike earlier prose romances, Daniel Defoe anchors every detail in the language of fact, measurement, daily routines, inventories of tools and food. So it is also, we can say that self-realization, self-reliance, self-satisfaction, when the person lives in solitude, they realize. Also, there are some critics who have commented about this work that this documentary style influenced later novelists like Richardson and Fielding and set the foundation for the English realistic novel. Yeah, one or two times it happens in my video. What should I do? And you are habitual now. The English realistic novel. So here it is clearly mentioned that Defoe sets the way, makes the way for Richardson and Fielding to write, give the hand in novel fiction work. At the same time, critics point out that it reflects the ideological foundations of imperialism. Imperialism, Crusoe is the prototype of the self-made man and the colonial master. As you can see, Robinson Crusoe is not just an adventure story, but a complex narrative that combines realism, theology, economic, and colonial politics. Highlights of the novel, everything is mentioned in the PDF. Once the class is over, I will share. It was published in 1719 and it is considered the first English novel in realistic prose tradition, inspired by the real life story Alexander Selkirk, a Scottish sailor marooned on an island 1704 to 1709. It was written in the form of an autobiographical narrative, so that is why many of the critics have not put this in a fiction work category, that in the novel category, because in autobiographical sense in the not non-fiction way, it imitates the journals and travelogues. The major contribution to realism in fiction and central theme individualism, survival, colonial mindset, providence, sin, and repentance. Repentance. Because this is based on the real story, so there might be possibility that that is why there is a conflict between the Pamela and Sa- Robinson Crusoe, that which is the first novel in English. Okay, now let's discuss the major characters, which is extremely important. Robinson Crusoe, the protagonist, adventurous. Sorry, the protagonist, adventurous, practical, resourceful, represents the self-made man of rising capitalism. Friday, the one who saved by the Robinson Crusoe, a native man rescued by Crusoe, he becomes his companion and a loyal servant. Zuri, we have young Moor enslaved by Crusoe early in his adventures, later sold to a Portuguese captain. Everything from for the exam perspective. Then the Portuguese captain who bought the Zuri helps Crusoe reach Brazil. The widow, a kind woman in England who looks after Crusoe's money, and Friday's father saved by Crusoe later from cannibals, and the Spaniard, another rescued captive who later helped Crusoe. These are the major characters. Now let's see the minor one. The Portuguese captain, we have Jury, widow in England, and mutineers. Mutineers symbolizes lawlessness against which Crusoe restores order. These are the characters. Now, this story is divided in parts. So, in the first part, the highlight, if you will see, Crusoe's early life and sea adventure, you find Crusoe's against his father's wishes chooses a life at the sea. That means he goes against his father's desire and prefer his own wishes. Several voyages he has been. First trip he shipwreck of Yarmouth. Very very important because they asked now Gulliver's Travel, which is the first city he land, and then the last one, the second, the third, fourth. So the first shipwreck of Yarmouth. Later captured by Moors near Salé, enslaved escape with Zuri. Rescued by a Portuguese captain taken to Brazil. So altogether with summary, you will find a lot of important things in the filtered manner. In Brazil, he becomes a plantation owner but seeks further fortune by joining an expedition to Africa. The name of the city is also important. In the part 2, the island life when he reaches shipwreck near the coast of Trinidad. Fictional location, only survivor, builds a shelter, salvages goods from wreck, keeps a journal, practices farming, grows barley, rice, and domesticate goats. He marks the time with a wooden cross and notches. He marks time. How he managed time. He marks time with wooden cross and notches. Reads the Bible, spiritual awakening, repentance, belief, survival is providential. How he transformed his journey, how he transformed throughout this journey, everything is mentioned. Discover in third part, he discovery of cannibals and Friday the loyal servant. Discovery footprints realizes island is occasionally visited by cannibals. Later rescue one captive named him Friday after the day. He teaches Friday English, Christianity, and European customs. Then themes of colonialism and Eurocentrism for Friday portrayed as loyal, submissive. Then we reach to the part 4, rescue and return. Crusoe helps rescue more captives. Friday's father and a Spaniard overthrows a mutiny, helps rightful English captain reclaim his ship, and finally leaves island after 28 years, 2 months, and 19 days. And then he returns to England, discover his Brazilian plantation made him wealthy. So these are the things that is divided in 4 parts. So after going through all these 4 parts, I must say that not I was since the beginning of the summary I was saying now that Gulliver's Travel by Jonathan Swift and Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, similar plot they have. But somehow they represent the theme should be the different. How? Because unfamiliar environments, but still we can say that opposite views they represent, colonialism and humanism. So we can say both are similar in nature, the plot, but they represent different views. Crusoe's tale is survival and European dominance, while you can say the Gulliver is a satire of society, who was a navy observer. So this is the differentiation. Then theme we have explored by Crusoe, individualism and capitalism, providence and religion, colonialism and Eurocentrism, isolation and civilization, realism and narrative styles. Narrative styles. Exam pointers, you have to be very careful about this. Robinson Crusoe marks the rise of the English novel, that is realism plus individualism, published in 1719. Same year, sequel The Farther Adventures of Robinson Crusoe appeared in the same year. Written in first person narrative imitating spiritual autobiography plus travel narrative, and here you will find the Crusoe's island experience represent Protestant work ethic plus Puritan individualism, and themes of colonialism, Eurocentrism, economic expansion, critical for post-colonial readings are extremely important for the exam pointers, especially for the UGC NET English. Okay, so this is the Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe's highlight and summary, theme, characters, self-reliance the character has here. Also, let me tell you, in this week we will do the Unit 3 fiction along with the June 2025 PYQs and the one thing poetry class revision in the form of questions, MCQs. So this week is going to be important for you. Do watch the video, do watch the class and subscribe the channel. Press the bell icon so that you cannot miss so that you do not miss any of the video class. Now another important novel we have here is Samuel Richardson's Pamela we will discuss. So Samuel Richardson, the one who supposed to be the founding figure along with Henry Fielding is the in English literature. Both Henry Fielding and Samuel Richardson rival they were. How we will discuss later. Samuel Richardson was an English novelist, printer, and publisher who was regarded as one of the founding fathers of the English novel. He pioneered the epistolary form, the letter format when we write the how we write the letter, the work is written. Novels told through letters, giving readers an intimate look into characters' minds, emotions, and his work often combined with didactic moral lessons with the realistic psychological depth, especially concerning female virtue, the one we have Pamela, social mobility, and Clarissa, and morality. Both the works somehow similar you can say, but the ending is one has happy and one has a sad. He was born in England, Derbyshire, UK. He was the part of the movement early 18th century, considered one of the fathers of the English novel style. He wrote epistolary form he gave us and the significance he has introduced psychological depth in the Clarissa work. We will discuss domestic realism and moral focus in novels. Then other major works by Samuel Richardson, we have Pamela, A Virtue Rewarded, 1740. Uh, everything you should keep in your mind. Everything, publication date, because chronology based questions majorly based on the publication year. Pamela in her exalted condition, sequel it is the 1742. Clarissa or the history of a young lady, 1747 to 48, and the history of Sir Charles Grandison, 1753 to 54. Major novels by Samuel Richardson. Then now let's deep dive into the novel Pamela or Virtue Rewarded. So here the summary of the Pamela we have. Pamela or Virtue Rewarded, it tells the story of Pamela Andrews. The protagonist we have here, Pamela Andrews, a 15-year-old maid servant working in a country state after her mistress dies. Pamela comes under the attention of her mistress' son, whose name is Mr. B, a wealthy landowner. So she was working in a estate, country estate, and when her mistress passed away, he get attention of her son, Mr. B, a wealthy landowner. So here Mr. B repeatedly attempts to seduce Pamela, even resorting to trickery, confinement, and bribery. Pamela resists him through letters and prayers expressing her devotion to virtue and religion. Pamela keeps telling him, keep Despite her struggles, Pamela maintains her chastity and moral strength. Eventually, Mr. B recognizes her virtue and reforms his behavior, and he proposes marriage, and Pamela accepts. This was the transformation from a servant girl into a lady of the society. She is now entered into the elite class. So this was the transformational journey, you can also say, of a poor girl, Pamela Andrews, who was earlier a maid servant working in a country state, and once her mistress dies, he get married she gets married the landowner, the Mr. B. Throughout the work she keeps struggle throughout the work, and she able to manage her respect, her dignity, and somehow she also, with her behavior, with her moral strength, virtue, and the devoted virtue religion, she changed Mr. B's behavior and make him fall for her, and that's why at the end they got married. He proposed her and they got married. So it has happy ending. The Pamela worker, it has a happy ending. The things you have to remember, the very simple story we have. And here how the novel ends. The novel ends with the Pamela adapting to her new status and proving herself a virtuous, faithful wife at the end after married. Now characters we have here. Pamela Andrews, a phone protagonist, a young virtuous maidservant who resists seduction. Mr. B, Square B, a wealthy landowner, initially predatory but reforms and marries Pamela. Mrs. Jervis, we have housekeeper, friend, and protector of Pamela. Mr. Williams, a clergyman who supports Pamela through, though powerless against Mr. B. Obviously, the one who has money, who has power in our society. Throughout the ages, we are saved observing this thing. Why this? I don't understand. Minor characters, the Lady Devers, Mr. B's sister, initially outraged by his marriage to a servant. Lady Devers, who is a Mr. B's sister, who are against the marriage. Mrs. Jukes, we have a cruel housekeeper who helps Mr. B imprison Pamela. When there is a good thing, then there is also a bad thing. So this is what the virtue, good versus evil. John, we have a servant loyal to Pamela. Then we have Paul Brand, Swiss guard hired by Mr. B to prevent Pamela's escape. Don't you feel we are watching a movie? Pamela's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Andrews, represent lower class, and Nan and Lady Arthur. Nan is the important character everybody PYQs from, side figure reinforcing Pamela's status shift. Remember all the characters, okay? What are the themes that Pamela represents? Virtue versus corruption. Pamela's chastity triumphs over Mr. B's immorality. Class mobility. A maid becomes a lady through moral strength. Power and gender. Male authority versus female resistance. Obviously, we can find in this work. Religion and morality. Pamela's prayers and letters serve as moral anchors. And marriage as reward. Pamela's virtue leads to social and financial upliftment at the end of the work. See, I took so much time to create this PDF. When there is a highlighter filtered out, you the students very much able to understand. So that is why with the long summary, I have created the filtered out point. I have filtered out the points. Then let's see what are the technique and style of the novel. It is written in the epistolary form, told through Pamela's letters and journal entries. Then we have psychological realism, deep exploration of Pamela's inner conflict. Moral didacticism we have here, that aimed to teach readers the reward of a virtue. Sentimental novel, emotional intensity, stressing tears, prayers, moral struggle. Okay. Now, for the exam perspective, you have highlight points. First epistolary novel in English, that is Pamela. Pamela is seen as the prototype of the domestic novel, inspired Henry Fielding to write the satirical Shamila 1741 mocking Richardson. That is why I told you initial of the video, that is why they are the rivals. Central theme virtue rewarded through marriage, and Pamela's letters are considered both confessional and performative. And UGC often asks about Mrs. Jukes, villainous housekeeper, and Paul Brand, a Swiss guard. So minor character they are. Do remember everybody. Do not forget them. So this is the highlight of the Pamela, virtue rewarded by Richardson. Now another important work by Richardson, we have Clarissa. Now let's see the summary of Clarissa or the history of the young lady. The another title, subtitle you all must be aware. Clarissa tells the tragic story of Clarissa Harlow, a young woman of virtue who became a victim of manipulation and coercion. Her wealthy family pressures her into a marriage with the repulsive Mr. Solmes. Hoping to advance their social standing, Clarissa resists and instead finds herself entangled with Robert Lovelace, a rakish libertine. So this is, you can say, it is a tragic. Both Pamela and Clarissa, you can in somehow find the tragic, but it is different from the Pamela. Here, the character Clarissa is struggling. She's already been to the marriage. Although Lovelace appears charming, his real motive is conquest. He deceives Clarissa, abducts her, and eventually rapes her after drugging her. Despite his later remorse and even proposing marriage, Clarissa refuses him, holding firmly to her moral principles, abandoned by her family, broken in health and disillusioned. She ultimately dies in a state of spiritual triumph. So, just we see that how Pamela has happy ending, and instead, unlike Pamela, the Clarissa has a sad ending. She dies at the end. Both type of work Samuel Richardson has gave us to experience the humankind, human nature, bad versus evil, the society norms, elite people, their thinking, their perception. Uh, Bluest Eye, the main character we have, Acola by Toni Morrison. That is also important novel. We will discuss that. Then Lovelace, who is the character, overwhelmed by guilt, is later killed in a duel with colonial modern Clarissa's cousin. What will do? So we can say both the characters, Clarissa and Lovelace, both die at the end. One die with guilt, and one who wanted to save her moral principles, her virtue, her dignity, dies. Dies at the end of the work. Then major characters we have Clarissa Harlow, protagonist, embodiment of virtue and moral strength. Robert Lovelace, charismatic rake and villain who violates Clarissa. James Harlow Jr., Clarissa's brother, harsh and controlling. When your family is not supporting, there is the situation became more difficult to control. Arabella Harlow, Clarissa's jealous sister. Mr. and Mrs. Harlow, parents obsessed with wealth and status. That is why we can say the parents here not supported Clarissa, and that is what she has to face the death. Mr. Solmes, the undesirable suitor chosen by the family. Anna Howe, we have Clarissa's loyal friend and confidant. Clarissa is the main protagonist we have, and Robert Lovelace, the villain character, antagonist. Then another character we have Colonel Morden, Clarissa's cousin, who avenges her by killing Lovelace. Who killed Clarissa's cousin? Colonel Morden. Theme of this work again we have virtue but vice. Teresa as the model of moral integrity against loveless libertinism, patriarchy and oppression, critique of family control and societal pressure on women. We still face this thing. Power and seduction. Jane Austen, one of the most important writer we have, who depicts society in her work. Pride and Prejudice, we have Persuasion. So, society, whatever the thing we are, whether it's a fiction or non-fiction, we are writing or we are reading, somehow they are depicting the truth. What is happening in the society throughout the ages, since the very beginning of the ages, what the human is presenting and what human is doing with the another one. So this is what and how. Key pointers from the exam perspective, we have Clarissa, known as the longest novel in English by word count, considered one of the greatest epistolary novels, frequently cited in questions about 18th century fiction, women in literature, and the themes of virtue and vices. So these are the exam pointers. You can practice the questions, and also MCQs, how you can practice the mock test. I have shared on Telegram and it is pinned. You can join and practice. Now, and most important novel, we are doing the summary of most important or major novels for the exam perspective. All of these novels are important because the characters, themes, I just told you themes, techniques, genre, style, minor or major characters, and which society they depict, the story is based. Everything is important of all these major novels. So we will discuss the major novel, and then the minor one I have already discussed in the first part and the initial of this video. So you do not miss, do watch. So Pride and Prejudice, the name suggests, it is one of the most important work by Jane Austen by Romantic age. Jane Austen, born in England in 1775, period she has been 18th to early 19th century, Regency era, and the major style or theme she used to work on realism, social commentary, comedy of manners, wit, very famous thing we have to remember about her work, wit, comedy, social depiction. So Austen is one of the most studied authors in English literature, very favorite and most popular authors in English literature. Jane Austen has been throughout the ages since now until now. Famous for her ironic prose style, exploration of marriage, class, women's roles in society. All of the works represent every theme mentioned here. Known for her key observation of society, class, marriage, and morality. There is a story said that I have read about the Jane Austen, that whatever the things she has represent in her work, somehow she has experienced those in her real life. So we know now what we write. If the writer is getting more popularity because of their work, somehow the work is related with the realities that the writer has faced himself or herself in their work, in their life. The way we have Charles Dickens, John Keats, there are a lot of writers who have experienced the poverty, who have been through the ages. So there are a lot of writers. So she is known for her keen observation of society, class, marriage, and morality. She master of free indirect discourse. That means narrative technique, blending narrator and characters' voices, very very important. Her novels often highlight women's social and economic struggles. Economic struggles she also depicts, and economic theme is one of the important highlight in the Pride and Prejudice. Everything start with economic struggle in this work. Other major works by Jane Austen we have here: Sense and Sensibility, 1811; Pride and Prejudice, 1813. You can cross-check the date here, everybody. Mansfield Park, 1814; Emma, 1815; Northanger Abbey, 1817. It was published posthumously, and Persuasion, 1817. Both posthumously. The writer passed away. Now let's see the summary of Pride and Prejudice. I personally like this story because women's condition throughout the ages, how and what we have studied is she has depicted very well reality. So here, Pride and Prejudice centers around Elizabeth Bennet, who is the protagonist of the work, who is intelligent and the second daughter of a country gentleman. You have to remember the number of the daughters. The Bennet family, they have five daughters, and one, two, three, four, five. And what are the names? Extremely important. And the PYQs. So her evolving relationship with Fitzwilliam Darcy, a wealthy, reserved gentleman. The story explores themes of love, marriage, class, pride, and misunderstanding. So this is the brief. We will highlight the everything about this work. The novel follows the Bennet family in 19th century England. Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, who has five daughters: Jane, Elizabeth, Mary, Kitty, and Lydia. This is the PYQs, everybody. They ask the questions that what are the name of the fourth daughter or fifth daughter, or they will give you the four name of the daughters in the option, and you will have to eliminate one or you have to find the correct one. I will bring you the PYQs in which I have seen this question. So the Bennet family has five daughters, all of whom must marry well, since the family estate is entitled to a male heir, Mr. Collins. When wealthy bachelors Charles Bingley and Fitzwilliam Darcy arrived in the neighborhood, Mrs. Bennet hopes for good matches, and here Mr. Bingley quickly falls for Jane Bennet. I have seen this in a movie also in Hollywood, and Bollywood is also made a movie. The eldest daughter, Jane Bennet, and the second one is Elizabeth. While Elizabeth forms a negative opinion of Darcy, believing him to be arrogant, and the similar way, Mr. Darcy forms a negative opinion about Elizabeth, that she is deceitful, witty, arrogant. So, through a series of misunderstanding between both the protagonists, Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy, it was they separated by Bingley and Jane and becomes deceitful charm. Elizabeth grows resentful of Darcy, however, as truth are revealed at the end that Darcy's real character, his rescue of Lydia Bennet, and after her elopement with Wickham, and his genuine love for Elizabeth. Everything revealed in front of the Elizabeth. So somehow later she realizes the true feelings of Mr. Darcy, and later at the end of the novel they get together. While Darcy overcomes his pride, the novel ends happily with the marriages of Darcy Elizabeth and Bingley Jane. Wickham character is important, everybody. Mr. Darcy, Lydia Bennet, Jane Bennet, and who runs, the one of the sister runs away is also important. So you do have to remember it's Lydia. Character we have here important, very very important. The characters: Elizabeth Bennet, protagonist, witty, independent-minded, the second daughter of the Bennet family. Elizabeth Fitzwilliam Darcy, wealthy gentleman, initially proud and reserved, later revealed as honorable and kind. Jane Bennet, eldest Bennet daughter, beautiful, kind, modest, marries Bingley. Charles Bingley, we have Darcy's wealthy, friendly friend, falls in love with Jane. Mr. Bennet, father of the Bennet sisters, witty but passive. Moreover, you can say the mother of Bennet sisters want want all the daughters to marry in the wealthy family, but the father supports the desire of the daughter, the wishes of the daughter. And Mrs. Bennet, the mother of the Bennet, is foolish, obsessed with marrying off her daughters within a wealthy family. Minor characters: Mary Bennet, middle sister, bookish and moralizing Kitty Bennet, Catherine, fourth sister, silly and easily influenced by Lydia. Lydia Bennet, youngest, reckless, elopes with Wickham. George Wickham, charming but deceitful officer, elopes with Lydia. Mr. Collins, pompous clergyman, heir to the Bennet estate, proposes to Elizabeth, marries Charlotte. Charlotte Lucas, we have Elizabeth's friend, marries Collins for security. Somehow this story is also represents the funny side of the society, and the more concern of the parents that their daughter should marry in the wealthy, well financed, wealthy family, so that their future can be secure, their future secured. And it is the concern of all the parents, whether it's a real or a real. Then we have Lady Catherine de Bourgh. Darcy's wealthy, arrogant aunt opposes Darcy-Elizabeth marriage, and Colonel Fitzwilliam Darcy's cousin, amiable but not wealthy enough to marry Elizabeth Bennet. Okay. Another character we have here, Georgian Darcy, Darcy's shy younger sister, nearly tricked by Wickham. The what are the themes of the work? One second. What are themes? We have pride and prejudice, and the one of the important question: who holds pride and who holds prejudice between Elizabeth and Darcy? So pride is Darcy and prejudice Elizabeth, because there is a misunderstanding perception about Darcy in Elizabeth's mind, and Darcy is arrogant, pride for the lower class society or the people's perception. So this is they represent marriage and class, reputation and social mobility, individual versus society, self-realization, marriage as a social contract versus marriage for love, women's limited roles in society. They cannot go outside to do the work. They cannot hold the property in their ancestors, the parents, the father. They have to depend on their husband's property, and they do not have rights to go outside. They do not have dependency. They do not have the independent of the financial security. So these are the things that was every woman faced since the very beginning of the ages, and this is what Jane Austen highlight in her work. And in the rural area, we find in India that still the girl are not supposed to be go out for the study, the education, and they get married in such young age. It still happens. We all are familiar about this. So if they're not allowing to get educated, how they will get the financial security? They will somehow to depend on their husband's property, their husband's wealth. See what husband's wealth. So this was the concern of Bennet family, the Bennet parents about their daughters. That is what the society reflects by Jane Austen. The technique of the work we have free indirect speech, Austen's hallmark blending narrator's voice with character's thought, irony and satire we will find, comedy of manners and symbolism. You know, one thing I would like to tell you, when I read something like this and I find that there is a movie based on this work, so I get curious to watch that, because while reading the work, I feel curious to know everything and visualize. I visualize, and while watching, I do understand everything very clearly. And why I watch, to clear my point and to see the society. They mentioned the costume, what were they wearing, the financial condition, the situation they have been through, the tragic scene, the comic scene, everything. I once visualize, I want to see in the real. So that is why I watch the related works movie, the way we have Hamlet, Heather movie in Shahid Kapoor. Then Pride and Prejudice, the same movie have in Hollywood, and I think in Bollywood also. I don't remember exactly, but somehow a clip I have seen. But majorly there are a lot of Shakespeare's work, so many work. We have Hamlet, Othello, that has been created in the movie. There are a lot of Hollywood and Bollywood movies. They actually, the work is written first and then created in the movie. That movie is made. Then highlights from the exam perspective, the exam pointers. Everybody do remember the opening line. Opening line, very very important. It is a truth universally acknowledged, often asked in exams. Okay, Elizabeth Bennet considered Austen's most beloved heroine. Elizabeth Bennet, very popular character of the Jane Austen's novel. Lady Catherine confrontation turns a turning point in Elizabeth's life. Yeah, aunt of Darcy. Darcy's letter is a turning point of the narrative. Lydia's elopement, key crisis in the novel, and first impression. The original title of the novel was First Impression. Do remember the original title of the novel, The Pride and Prejudice, was The First Impression, and this work focused on the Austen's signature technique, irony, wit. So I hope you got the point. How many novels we have discussed? I'm feeling demotivated because I'm after doing a lot of hard work. I'm not getting the views. My video is not getting the views because you are not sharing now. So I was thinking to hold the class for some time. What do you think, everybody? So we have discussed 4 or 5 novels. Daniel Defoe, Robinson Crusoe, Pamela, Clarissa, Pride and Prejudice, 4 novel. We have discussed 5 novel in which class we will discuss, and then we will end to the unit 3 fiction. In unit 3 fiction, you have to focus on the fiction work you have and the short stories, and get ready to do the revision of the poetry class. Once the class is over and the another will start, we will do the previous class revision. So I hope you do understand. Now let's discuss this one, then we will end the class. And class is very much live. You, whenever you comment live, I do answer. So you can comment live during 7 o'clock, every day 7 o'clock evening, you can watch. Then another popular work, we have the life and opinions of Tristram Shandy, majorly known as the Tristram Shandy Gentleman by Lawrence Sterne. Lawrence Sterne, who was born in Clonmel, Ireland, later moved to England. Who was a clergyman and humorist, he became one of the most original voices in the 18th century English literature. Little bit description I have highlighted for the novelist also. So just to not to jump to the work, but we should have little bit overview about the writers. He was known for his disgressive non-linear storytelling style, heavy use of irony, wit, and narrative experiments. His work deeply influenced later modernist and postmodernist writers like James Joyce and Virginia Woolf, who were the postmodernist writers. Okay, so Lawrence Stern, born in Ireland, later moved to England, and he has used the heavy use of irony we will find in his work. And the major work we have here, the life and opinions of Tristram Shandy, gentleman, 1759 to 1769, in 9 volumes. Then A Sentimental Journey Through France and Italy, 1768, Sermons of Mr. Yorick, 1760 to 69, Letters of Lawrence Stern, published posthumously. This work was. Now let's see the summary of the very important novel, Tristram Shandy. This novel is famously digressive and unconventional, often delaying the main story. It is narrated by the Tristram Shandy, who attempts to tell his life story but keeps digressing into anecdotes about his eccentric family, philosophy, and random subjects. You know, you are trying to tell the story, but somehow you are. Tristram Shandy depicts he wants to try to he try to tells the story, but about he tries to tells the story about his eccentric family, but he quotes into the random subjects. The narrative style mocks conventional autobiography by refusing to follow chronology, and it satirizes human folly. Writer itself, Lawrence Stern itself, himself was a humorist. It was mentioned in his bio. So obviously, how the work written by him can follow the structure. So here, refusing to follow chronology, the work Tristram Shandy, that is why it is human folly, medical practices, education, and the society. Instead of Tristram's life itself, the story is dominated by his father Walter Shandy and his eccentric uncle Toby Shandy, along with neighbors and the servants. You are trying to depict a story about your family, but you are somehow dominated by your own family, your neighbors, your uncle. This happened with the Tristram. Characters you have to remember: Tristram Shandy, the supposed narrator and the protagonist, though most of his life is never told. He used to tell the story. He was trying to tell the story, but could not. Walter Shandy was the father, Tristram's father, eccentric and obsessed with theories on names, education, and philosophy. Uncle Toby Shandy, retired army officer, gentle, kind, obsessed with military fortifications. Minor characters, there are a lot. Mrs. Elizabeth Shandy, Tristram's mother, often passive but sometimes questioned Walter's theories. Dr. Slope, a clumsy, incompetent physician who watches Tristram's birth. Corporal Trim, Uncle Toby's loyal servant, helps him with military recreations. Parson Yorick, local clergyman, witty and humane, seen as Stern's alter ego. Obadiah, we have the Shandy family servant, Susanna, Tristram's nursemaid, and widow Waldman, love interest of Uncle Toby, curious about his war wound. These are the minor characters highlighted along with the major one. What are the themes of this work? The satire of biography and autobiography, the unpredictability of life, human folly and obsession, the role of the chance, Tristram's nose being crushed at birth, the nature of narrative and digression, humor, sentiment, and irony. So, whatever the thing, one thing you found in this summary, it was mentioned the heavy use by Lawrence Stern in his work. So, what is the irony you found this? If any of you can tell, irony, heavy use of irony. Tristram Shandy itself is trying to tell the story about the family, eccentric family, but he is not able. Instead, The most of his story remain untold, and his father dominate him. Not only his father, but the neighbor, his uncle. So most of his story remains untold because of the irony used by Lawrence Stern. You are trying to tell the story, but somebody is told, somebody is telling, and you are dominated by themselves. Technique, you will find a digression. The story never follows a straight path. Metafiction, the narrator directly addresses the reader. Non-linear narrative, constant interruptions and delays, and because of this technique, that is why you can understand why Tristram Shandy not able to narrate the story. Typographical experiments, blank pages, marble pages, black pages for morning, satire and parody, mocking conventional storytelling throughout the story, humor way. For the exam perspective, it is known for experimentation in narrative form. Questions on Stern often focus on degradation technique, Uncle Toby's obsession with fortifications, Tristram's delayed birth, you will find in volume 1 and 2. Parson Uric as a Stern's self-projection, typographical jokes, black page, blank page, marble page, you will find in the typographical jokes. So, and sometimes compared with Cervantes' Don Quixote for comic eccentricity. Don Quixote is also one of the important novel, earlier important novel. Okay. So in this class, we have discussed the five major novel, their characters, themes, everything. I have given my best to try to highlight everything for the exam perspective also. So for the fiction work, you have to remember the summary, the about that protagonist, the villainous character, minor characters, the themes, techniques, and the motive of the writer, that from which perspective they have written the work. Whether they are trying to depict the particular society, the age, the any technique they have been through. So this is what you have to study. So this was the end of the class 2. We have discussed the five novels here, and in the remaining class of unit 3 fiction, we will discuss the five more important novels. Okay, there are a lot of important works, but we have discussed everything in the first and second class, and in the upcoming class we will discuss the five more important novels. So stay tuned everybody, take care of yourself, and bye bye.